cold, a flu. And so I wanted to do something, but it was out in the meadow. It was going to be muddy and cold, windy, and rainy and muddy. What's not to like? So,
there's always next year.
yeah, that's my take.
So you don't need me today, it looks like. Which is
No,
great.
we're going to do training, so
I love it. I get to.
we can all learn something. And as my teacher says, you learn how to do it, then you do it, and you haven't learned how to do it till you teach somebody else how to do it.
Yeah.
That's when you really learn it.
Yeah.
So that's my joy today.
I have the joy of getting to listen and learn rather than trying to trudge through and figure it out.
Yeah.
I was telling Bob when I took over the Dave was the one who had been doing it. And so they said, okay, you're going to do it now. And Dave was the one who was doing it, and he'll show you how to do it. So I said, Dave, how do you do it? Well, you go out and here's the list. Here's the hammer. There's the board. You'll get used to it.
If you want to use the Makugyo to demonstrate, you could show them what the Han is, but you could use this to demonstrate because it's easier.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Because we're not going outside in the rain for your demonstration. Oh, here's the little one. Here's the little fish.
Yeah, actually, I could do that. But
You want? Yeah, that'll do it. That's even easier. Let's make it simple. Oh, wow.
should I go and grab a sutra book?
Oh, the Makugyo book?
No, just the main book that we use.
Oh, the main book. They haven't arrived yet.
Thank you.
There we go. Now we're official.
I think he's almost done.
Okay, so I'll wait. I'll wait for him.
Are we going to talk about other things like, or just about the typical Sunday?
So I think he primarily typical Sunday.
Then I'll keep these away.
Trying to keep it, relatively Sunday.
Yeah, I know. Relatively.
One of the more interesting things I've found, and I've seen it with myself, with other people, is, you go to a session, you sit every week, you do this and that, but unless you're actually in a service position, you have no idea what to do once you're asked what to do.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
It's like you're used to hearing the bells, you're used to seeing people do something, but then to remember to, if you're asked to do it, it's like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
But those were the days. I remember those days. That's called beginner's mind, isn't it? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's been coming a year now. I still have a bit of that going on, but I remember the first 6 months, just like
the 3-ring circus.
Yeah, just what is this? How does this work? Your brain's just trying to figure it all out. Even if I'm not trying to figure it out, my brain's trying to work.
Until you know what the next thing is coming before they do it, and then you, oh, now I know that happens next.
And that was what I found to be interesting when I served as a liturgy master that, you know, the way I look at liturgy, the service, is there's always a beginning and there's always an ending to not only the whole thing, but in segments in between, like the bong, 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 clack, bong is the beginning of the chanting. You know, you have the beginning of the entry, you have the exit, and all that stuff. It's all like little components. So, so I think Kenkō is
sorry for being busy with other things while you're doing all of this work.
No worries. So I'll, speaking of beginnings, I'll kick us off, I guess, as the temple manager. I'm Michael, and thanks for those of you joining us today. I'm just going to kind of recap what to expect today, what we're doing. So this is a special training session on Zendo rules and etiquette, good for newcomers like myself and regular practitioners. So what to expect, we're going to have Doan role training by Bob Nyosui, and we have Zendo etiquette instruction. Jo Ei Stawasz will be leading that. We're going to learn about proper forms, entering the Zendo, bowing, kinhin, I think we'll get to that. Some hands-on practice with instruments and roles, and then opportunity for questions. So I'll just leave it at that and turn it over to whoever wants to get us started, which I'm assuming it will be the person standing.
so in my vision was that the starting with the etiquette, just how we enter and exit.
Yeah, I would actually start with the questions. Namely, I mean, who's here and what would people be interested in and what would be helpful for folks?
I would just like to learn the basics first, a simple etiquette, you know, of bowing and, you know, etc. I've read, you know, plenty about it, but there seems to be some difference.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, that would be a good beginning. So you feel comfortable coming in and you're not doing anything that's
Let's start with
Out of
our
place.
names, because
Oh yeah,
Oh.
so some introductions.
you announced yourself and
I
then
did,
that was
and
it.
then that was it. Well, I'm Michael. Jo Ei.
Russell.
Timothy.
Kenkō?
No.
Bob.
Wonderful.
Well, my question to start is my experience has been I just get mixed signals as to, and you know, so there's not supposed to be duality of things, right? But and yet there's a right way to do. There's right this, right, right mind, right action, right, which well, there must be a wrong then. And so then I'm caught in this duality thing in my head of, well, what am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? And, oh, I missed the timing. Is my right hand under my left or is my left hand under my right? Am I taking too big of a step? Am I too close to this person? All that stuff. So it sounds like we'll cover that, but that's sort of my question is what's right and what's wrong.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Thank you. What else?
I think prior to a couple of months ago, Bill led a discussion about why do we even do these chants? Why do we chant in Japanese? We don't even understand the language. Why do we, you know, besides doing it right, why even do it? And I think he did a good presentation, which is basically what I got out of it was like, we chant the sutras to get our mind right and to put us in a certain, and then there are ways that are traditionally correct. So let's learn the correct way, because when I see people coming in, when I see people leaving, I see all kinds of things going on. And I'm going, well, let's get unified. Is it important? I think so. And once you know how to do it, then break it if you want. But at least you know what you should do. And I would think that if I went down to ZCLA, I would be comfortable there. If someone from LA Zen Center or San Luis came here, they would say, oh, I'm pretty much familiar with what they're doing here. We don't want to go too far astray. And that's what I'd like to get out of today.
Thank you.
You know, it reminded me of a story of my own experience with doing this stuff. I was doing a research project in China on a particular monastery. And I would get up early in the morning when the head priest, and I was staying in the guest quarters of the head priest place. I get up early in the morning, go out with him, and I'd watch him, and he gave me the book that I could follow. So I was following the rituals. This was outside. This was the release of life ritual. Then I got to one place, and he would light incense and walk around as you will do, demonstrate. And then I said, I noticed one time we walked around 4 times, and the book said 3. So that night at dinner, we would always have dinner together, the 3 or 4 of us. I said, I have a question. How did that happen? We went around 4 and it says 3 here. He said, oh, I dropped the incense on one time around, so I decided I'd go around again. I was shaken to my, so deep into my soul. I mean, it's okay to do that. So that there's another attachment you can let go of once you know what to do.
Yeah, the other thing I forgot to mention, so we're not a monastery, and we're not even a Zen center, like a retreat center like Jikoji. We once a week, we don't even have, we call ourselves the Santa Barbara Zen Center. I call it Santa Barbara Where's the Center? Because hospice is generous enough to let us use this space on Sundays. And at McVeigh House prior to this. So no, we're not a monastery, but for 1 hour, for 2 hours, we are. When we put the boot up, we are a monastery. When you take the vows, your house becomes a temple. And that's the way I see it. So let's act like we're a temple for the next 2 hours every day. And next week we will. But today we'll have a little training.
Beautiful. Any other questions, perspectives, thoughts on what would be important to look at?
Only one is, I know there's many different lineages. Is today focused on a certain aspect of Soto, Zen, certain lineage within that?
Great.
I guess we'll get to that. But
I love all your questions. They're exactly the right kind of questions that in a way the practice is designed to bring up for us, right? It's another opportunity to meet your mind. And a lot of our mind is about doing it right and doing it wrong, which is like, it's right here, it's right there. The way I think about sort of the forms is exactly that. You know, it's an opportunity for us to get to know our minds. And to do that in Zazen, we sort of do that sort of in the microcosm, that's over here. And in liturgy, it's like the mesocosm, the halfway in between, right? It doesn't include everything, but it's sort of a small structured way of being with other people in an orchestrated way that we want to be in harmony with. And for me, liturgy is sort of one way of experiencing that in a way that is on some level totally scripted, and it's not about the script. The script makes it easier to be in harmony because we don't have to have a conversation about, well, how do we come in? You do this, I do that, we do the other thing. But on some level, what is actually happening, if it brings your attention to what is actually happening, that's exactly the right thing that's happening, even though the bell was in the wrong spot. Right? It's like, oh, I hit this thing, and in this moment, I sort of realized, this actually comes later. Or it's like, oh, we're going through this again. I thought I rang this bell before it has to do it. In the same way, in terms of, coming into the Zendo, there's a particular kind of harmony that comes through having the energy not go all over the place, to sort of, gather the energy inside. And the forms are on some level totally arbitrary. They're just made up. People made them up. And people have practiced them for a long time and have found them valuable in this particular way. So going along with your suggestion of sort of making this a serious place of practice while we're here. Let's do what is helpful for people. I think traditionally in Japan, what would happen is you come in and nobody teaches you anything. Right? The traditional way is you actually look to your seniors, you look to people who look like they experience, you watch closely what it is that they do, and you try to follow as much as you can. Right? And if you're doing something that is outrageously out of order, somebody will come and tell you. Right? So on some level, if nobody gives you any corrections, you're probably fine. But that's a way of training that is partly also embedded in Japanese culture. I mean, you may have seen that in Aikido, in other disciplines where this is just the way the training works. So some of that doesn't translate that easily to our Western settings. Right? So this is why sometimes having sort of more explicit training sessions can actually be helpful. Right? Even to realize that, yes, actually coming up, thinking that I'm doing the wrong, this is exactly the thing that it's supposed to bring up. So in a way, you're not wrong about it. It means that actually the structure is working. So, so why don't we just sort of, so what I thought would be helpful is, it sounds like there's sort of interest in the overall etiquette, to just walk through some of that. Maybe walking through a service, and then we can focus sort of on specific trainings that have to do with particular kind of service positions. How does that sound?
Sit over here.
Great. So you may notice that, well, I noticed coming in that the arrangement here is different than it usually is. And there's something interesting about it, and that can be helpful, because usually the seats that are closest to the altar, it sort of goes by seniority. So the most senior people sit closest to the altar, and then I'm just saying how it usually is. And the interesting thing, it often feels in the West, it feels like I can't take this seat. This is too important for me. I'm not important enough to sit in this seat. I must sit over here. Right? Or some other people feel like, I want to get as close to the altar as possible because I feel really important. So there is, again, it's sort of it's a mirror of bringing up, what is important to me about it. There is a simple practical reason why this is the case that actually has to do with this kind of training, right? When people stand for service and they wonder, what is happening now? Who are we bowing to? Are we bowing like this? Are we bowing in the direction of the altar? Are we bowing like this? You just look at the people in front, which is the direction that you're already looking into. So on some level, it's set up so that the people who are new are in a way see examples in the natural direction that they're looking at. So in the other way that it's set up, when we have the 9 cushions in between, it's a little difficult to sort of notice who's in front and who to follow. And because we all sort of face the altar, there's no difference between just doing this bow or facing the altar, because it's both in the same direction. But with this arrangement, we can sort of see a little bit of the finer details in that. So why don't we get up and start coming into the Zendo?
And maybe we can start by just following along what the person in front of you is doing, and then we can open it up for questions.
Just the word "get up" is tough enough. Come on.
We would usually need 2 bells.
Oh, there is a bell in that wicker basket if you want it.
So usually they start with the knowledge when you enter the Zendo. Beautiful. So it's a little bit like the game telephone. And it's like if you later you get the example of the person in front of you, which is not the first example. So I think people sort of picked up the bow at the door. This is like you can make this arbitrarily complicated. Right? Maybe it's like, do you enter in the center or do you enter on the side? Do you enter on this side or do you enter on this side? Do you go in with your right foot or do you go in with your left foot? Right? So there are like layers of complexity that you could add to that. Usually the way is, if this door is wider, you sort of enter on the left side and you enter with your left foot first. Don't get tripped up about that.
But do you bow before you come in or once you come in?
I come in and I bow.
Well, that's wrong.
So the other piece about it is, so in that case, we should do what Nyosui is saying, because what I'm offering is really to support what Santa Barbara Zen is doing, even if I would do it different. So your suggestion is to do this and then come in?
The way we were taught was you bow before coming in. Your shoes are off, and we have shoes on while we were setting up. Once the altar is set up, now it's a temple.
Beautiful. So,
prior to that, we can walk in with shoes. Barefoot is fine.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Not in Japan, but
so Santa Barbara Zen way, bow outside, come inside.
And either foot. Yeah.
Yes. And then you go to find a seat. You bow to your seat. Have a seat first. You bow to the person across from you, and you go in shashu.
You never bow to the altar?
I will not.
Interesting.
That's that bow.
That's that. Okay.
As you're coming in, you're bowing to the whole temple and the altar, but he is correct. You bow to your seat and then the person across, even if they're not there yet.
Yes. And the thing is, if there is a person across from you, so I don't know, if I'm doing this, you could return my bow. Except when you're in Zazen, then you're in Zazen, then you don't worry about that.
And you said shasu.
So this is left hand, small fist, solar plexus.
Thumb under.
Thumb in.
Thumb in.
Cover it with your right hand. So usually it's like the language, I think, is the dominant hand. And so for left-handed people, I guess it could be the other way around. We would have to ask the teacher how to do this here. So, but that's sort of the big picture. And you may have noticed that I stepped back, which is mostly to sort of open the way. Usually I would be staying off the cushion. And again, this is sort of something where I would be looking through the scenery, what it is that they're doing. I'm just following along with that.
I would think because of the space, limited space, you would probably mostly be on the cushion.
Because also for the, between the rows, there's like this much space, just enough to walk. Great.
Just one small thing.
Yes.
So this is the cushion for the officiant.
Yes.
And we have one for the priest.
Yes.
This space is off limits.
Yes.
In front of the altar, between that and the priest. So if you were to come in, say this way, say you were following Jo Ei here, you would not cut across here. You would go cut out.
Going from,
And
So,
just-
right, so it looks like people naturally did what it's like. I need to go to this side. I need to go to that side. But it's helpful to know that it's like if I need to get to the candle, I don't go this way. I would go this way, and here I would bow, crossing the sidelines of the Buddha, and then I would do whatever work I need to do over here. Also, whatever work I do over here, I sort of do from the side. I don't step in front of it. This is sort of, the space is, I don't know, literally reserved for officiants.
Yeah, I think I remember Dave telling me if once you've begun a ceremony, nobody's supposed to pass in between the Buddha and the priest position.
And you adapt for whatever's needed in the space. If we did Kinhin in here, we would, there wouldn't be a way to avoid that. And
Well, you could take up the mat. I mean, we have that, but notice that's brown. It's a different zabuton, different to delineate that that's the officiant or the priest. In the absence of a priest, as Bill has stated to us, the Buddha is our officiant. So you can see the ghost right there. It's very simple.
This ritual format is based on the Chinese imperial format, exactly the same. That's the emperor. And that's exactly the ritual that's done in the imperial palace. And so the Buddhists just copied that because they were trying to separate themselves. But in Japan, it became a form of respect of yourself and the other people there to do it in this order that you're talking about now. It's about respect. Sensing one's position.
And then so imagine that we have just come back from Kinhin. In that case, we would stay in. Maybe we can go for the Kinhin later on. I'm just sort of noticing we're sort of standing, which usually means that I need 2 bells to sit down. In the beginning, when we come in, you can just sort of sit down. Great. Should we just do Kinhin? Why don't we sit down and sort of do the transition to Kinhin? Usually 2 bells. I think. Oh, yes.
So timekeeper would do the bells.
3 bells. Oh, is that it? So that's at the beginning. 2 bells.
Actually, yes. Actually, why don't we just sort of simulate the whole thing through and not jump? Sorry, in my mind, it's like, oh yeah, we know how to do zazen. Let's do it. The next thing that we need to talk about. But why don't we just do exactly? You've just sat down. We're now ready for zazen. So I think they are.
So we're past service, and now we're going to the zazen part.
Maybe no past service.
Yes, good question. So actually, why don't we do it in exactly the order that we usually do it? Which means that we sit down. The shakuhachi is going to start playing.
The reason I play shakuhachi, I just want to let you know, it comes from ZMM, Zen Mountain Monastery, Mount Templar, that my teacher was teaching shakuhachi there. And then our home temple, Mamanji, in Masudo City in Japan, we play shakuhachi. This is very rare. I don't know, have you ever been to any other temple that has shakuhachi? No, except our temple. So this is our trademark.
Yeah.
So what others have told me is they come in and everybody's sitting waiting for 10 o'clock to start and they're chit-chatting. I like to, when the Han is playing, and now we're going to start at the Han because that's the first thing. The Han starts playing, and so I have to do a duet with the Han. By doing so, it quiets the mind. If we've just walked the long walk on the Tokaido Road and we're getting ready for service, we're dusting, getting the dust off of us, and we're sitting down to meditate. Let's let the mind settle and that's what the shakuhachi's function is to, so that when we start meditation or start the service, we're already halfway done. We got a jump start, and that's my idea. But let's go. The first thing that happens as we're coming in is the Han. So why don't you explain the Han? And that this is a service position that's usually very required at a temple or monastery to call everybody in. They're at Jikoji, everybody's out, and they don't all have a watch. Back in the Edo period, you didn't have a watch. Now your smartphone tells you get in there, but here we are having the Han.
I have one small addition to what you said. So this is like sort of a different this is sort of like the family style question, right? At Oxbow Zen, we sort of figured actually as soon as you come in the Zendo, there's no talking in the Zendo, which is sort of an extreme end of things, right? There is also something about giving people the space to connect, in particular if new people come in. So in a way, having the ability to have a little chit chat is actually also a way of knitting the community together. But I'm just sort of, this is sort of something where as a group, you can decide on how you want to hold it. And in a way, you know, the shakuhachi provides a transition from the welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, and now we're beginning to settle down.
When we were at McVeigh House, we had two different positions. One was called the greeter as you came in, and the second person was for beginners to take them aside for training on how to meditate if this was their first time. Outside of the. So there's many positions we'll be talking about. But anyhow, just for those who haven't seen this, this is the Han. And this hangs outside the temple. And makes that sound. And you can see the one at Jikoji is well worn in the middle. Many temples have that. You can see this on YouTube where they're well used and pounded for years. Bill used to do this outside. But we're not really calling people in except from their cars. So we've kind of abbreviated that. So he will show you what the Han position has a form and procedure that he'll show us now.
My sense of the Han was when I first started with this Zendo. I didn't know how to do the Han. I was kind of being a guest, and you always listen. For me, that sound of the Han was settling itself, even if I was already in my seat. So I appreciated it, but had no sense of how to do it. And then, as I mentioned a little while ago, when it was passed on to me, Dave said, "Here's the Han. It's easy. Follow the lines here." And it took me a while to get used to it, but what I think it does is it cuts off chit chat. And so does the shakuhachi. And we've kind of fallen out of that. We do a lot of chit chatting right up to the end.
And again, the problem is that we come, we have a service, and we leave, and we don't have time for chit chat. So, like last time when we had the tea afterwards, there was. People know there's going to be a chance to connect. But when we come and leave, because this is a rented a couple hour space, then we don't have that opportunity. So yeah, we have to work through this.
So the Han is a descending order. The shorter the intervals are, the closer to starting time. You realize it just by the pace that the Han is going. So it starts with a loud one. Then I count silently to 9. 7 and 9, I can't remember, I haven't done it for so long, 9. So I count to 9, let it be quiet, and then 7 hits. 2, 3, 4, I can't remember, 6, 7, 8, 9. I do a series of 7 of those, and then I go to 5s. Before I get to the 5, I finish the 7th of the 9s. And then I can't remember what I do. I haven't done it for so long. Medium hit. Then it goes to 5. 2, 3, 4, 5, goes to 7. So that's, and it gradually crescendos down to 3 series of those, and there's no need to go through that. I had no idea when I was, before I ever did this, I had no idea anybody was counting or how long I was speaking. You don't have to know that. It's kind of ruined my experience of it because it was nice just sitting there and listening to it go down. Not having to worry about the counting. So that's the Han list.
And there's a cheat sheet, and you're allowed to use it, so you don't have to have this memorized. Just and it depends how long we've abbreviated this instead of 3 roll downs to 2, so we could do it in 5 minutes. I know at Jukoji it's a full 15 minutes because they're calling people in from all the dorms.
But for me, it was always a settling experience. There was no conversation. I didn't hear any chit chat. It's just the sound of this. And that was very useful to get onto the scene and get settled.
Okay, so now everybody's in the Zendo. We're seated. Now, some temples do the service after the meditation. Some do before. We follow the CCLA at the Zen Center of LA protocol that Koan brought to us. And Koan was our teacher who passed away last October. And so we follow this procedure. Now, the Doan team, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but there's three positions. One is the Makugyo, the fish drum, keeps time. 2 is the bells, and 3 is the chanter. Because we are lacking the number of necessary people, I mean, but because we had a greeter, we had the trainer who trained the new people, we had the Jisha who was the assistant to the officiant, we had the 3 people on the Doan team, we had the tea person afterwards. There's 9 or 10 positions. When we only have 8 people, we can't fill all the positions. So I ended up taking over 2 or 3 of these positions. I taught Riley, who couldn't make it today, how to do the drum. Michael started on the drum first, I think, and then moved to the bells, which was a little more complex. No one yet wants to be the chanter. I welcome anybody to take them over. But actually, I find it easy to do all 3 because I don't have to look to another person and see what they're doing. So the first thing, this is the Inkin is used a lot. And the small bell.
The Inkin, I don't know, when is it, what is it used?
It's used to tell you when to bow. These different bells will, when everybody in the Zendo knows the forms and practices, every bell tells people what to do, tells the priest what to do. You don't have to say anything. And so when I hit this twice at the beginning, now we're ready to start. The Han has stopped, you've come in. The priest and the Jisha are outside at the entrance, ready to come in, and I hit this twice. And I say, please,
See there, I was gonna say right there, you said the bells indicate what to do so that you don't have to say anything. Well, we kick off we immediately say something. We
Please-
hit two
please
bells and say,
stand.
please stand. It'd be interesting to try not doing that.
Yeah.
And then it falls into what you were kind of the tradition of this in terms of training. And this is the way I came in too, other than being told, please stand. The rest of it is a lot of side eyes and a lot of like bowing with my head up and just watching and observing. And that, you know, if enough people stand, everybody stands.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, I love what you mentioned about the different positions, because on some level, the liturgy needs to grow and shrink with the needs of the moment. Right?
Mhm.
So, you know, fewer people means, you know, one person does more jobs, or maybe, I mean, at some point we have also dropped certain kind of positions.
Yeah.
Right? If
so
we have it-
and I used to have, you know, Tom would be on bells and Augie would be on the drum, and he would always threaten to go faster. He would go, Kanji's I go. As in Japan, they really rip through it. And I'd say to them, slow it down, because we're trying to read this Japanese, Sino-Japanese, and we have to keep it at a certain level.
So I wonder, would it be helpful to just walk through the service?
I think so. Now sometimes outside, before I even hit to ask people to stand, the Jisha has some bells in some places. I don't know if that's your experience, but sometimes the Jisha does preliminary bells outside.
So so with our tradition, so first of all, we got the two bells from us, and you may have noticed I automatically bowed, because for me that is usually the signal that I can stand up.
Okay, so let's run it through, because
Right. So
rather than talking it through, I'll
Yes.
play it.
can you give us the two chains
Okay,
so we can get up?
so everybody gets up.
And when you get up at your seat, what you can do is you can put your cushion to the side and stand on your mat. Usually what is going to happen is you're going to bow in the direction of the altar. So this is usually a good corner so that it's out of the way. Yep, that works. And then you just stand in shashu, facing the center.
Except if you're in the Doan team, then you get to sit and you don't have to do any bows. This is so great.
and the officiant leaves. Do we want the Jisha along with that?
Yeah, let's show that as if.
Exactly.
Okay. So the two bells say get up. Then when the officiant nods to the bell master, he steps in over the threshold, and now we're starting. Halfway to the bowing mat, another bell. Standing bow, a third bell. That's the end of the big bell. Then, when the officiant bows at the right side of the altar, the Incan. When the officiant is halfway back, another bow. And when the officiant bows at the mat, a third bow. The third bell. Now this is called the rundown or the roll down. What that says to you is everybody's about to do 3 bows. So now you could do them standing bows, or you can do full prostrations.
So right. So as you hear the run going, you do this. So out of this, like that. So you face the altar, because the bows are going to be in the direction of the altar.
Before the roll down starts, or as it starts, you're coming in.
As it starts,
It's indicating. Okay.
exactly as it starts, because it tells us there are 3 bows that are coming, and then you're getting ready for the.
Yeah, so the roll down just keeps going faster. It's like First bow.
And these are usually full bows.
Okay, can you explain the bows and the hands and everything?
I don't think there's anything to explain.
You're bowing, but you don't.
So
You're
I do-
lifting Buddha's feet.
I do this right. So these are like Nyosui says, imagine that you're lifting the Buddha's feet above your head. And then you get back up. Some people don't want to use their hands in getting down and getting
Right.
up. My knees need my hands.
And the second bow. You want to be a tough guy, you do it without using your hands, otherwise. And then the third one down, and when his knee hits, I do a final inhale.
And notice this is sort of another example of the bells actually guiding us. You don't even need to count how often you have bowed. Right? When there is the chain at the end, it's like, oh, this was the last bow.
Yeah. Then again,
There's an-
the big bell.
and this is sort of where technically the cues all come from the officiant in conjunction with the Doan Ryo. The reality is we're all together, right? It may be that, I don't know, the officiant is totally spaced out, then the Doan has it's time for you to go up. Or or the Doan is distracted by something else and the officiant just goes.
And most of the time, we don't have a total.
An officiant in Doshi.
Yeah, efficient.
So in that case, it's exactly the same except without a person.
See, so when I don't have an officiant, I'm visualizing the timing. Like everybody bows together, but now I've hit the big bell at the bowing mat. Then the officiant goes up and offers incense, which we can't offer because there's no smells allowed in here. And when he gets to the right side, I hit it again. So I'm watching him. And when he returns to the bowing mat and bows, and then there's that sound and this sound. So the officiants, the Pak on the Makugyo says, we're going to the sutras. Did you have anything to say on that?
No.
Because we missed that last time.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, you're waiting
like for the Mukugyo, this is like if you make a mistake, you usually forget to make that POC. And the POC is like it tells everybody else I'm ready. Right? So if you're not ready, then you have another chance because there will be another death.
Okay, so that's then we go to the 3 different sutras. The first one is the first one is always the Heart Sutra, either in Japanese or in English, and we usually alternate those. So, and then there's bells that go along with those, just to symbolize when the officiant goes up to the altar. So we're not going to do the makahanya here, but the drum. This is where the key is. The drum, the fish, Makugyo is the heartbeat. Without the heartbeat, has to be very steady and not rushed. Anybody who does this position, a typical problem is rushing as you go forward. Anybody who's done a drum circle knows that everybody's drumming together, and then it gets faster and faster until it's a train wreck. So
Can we go back to the POC?
okay,
Because I think we skipped over one part. So there's a POC, and that's the symbol for the Ino then to announce
right.
Maha, Prajna, Paramita, Heart Sutra,
And I mean, here the announcement that you make first is actually what page it is on. So the good news for everybody is you don't need to know what particular chant it's going to be because somebody says page, I don't know, 16.
I'm going to say page 2,
Page
and
2.
then you get your book and you look, and hopefully I said the right number.
otherwise we'll do whatever is on page 2.
Yeah. And so I said, so then the drumming is just kanji, zaibo, sago, so this goes on until we come to the end. And there's some bells which tells the officiant when to go up, when to come back, and at the end, we slow down. Hanya Hanami Shingyo. Now, every sutra has a dedication following it. We have said a prayer. We've said the Makahanya, the Heart Sutra. This is everybody, I should say almost every temple in any kind, Vietnamese, wherever, in Japan, America, everybody's doing the Heart Sutra, I think. Now, the first dedication is always to the Buddha. So I start by giving a dedication. We dedicate its merits too. When I hit the bell, and this is the smaller bell, our original, when you hear the bell, you bow. Our original teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, the all-pervading and everlasting three treasures. Now you can come back up. And so the dedication goes on. And then I say, may our sincere vows to accomplish the Buddha way be realized together. All Buddhas throughout space and time.
And while this is going on, you're just standing on your cushions facing the cross in Basho for that. So for the chanting, you usually hold your book. The way that you technically hold your book is like this.
Right.
And then once we come to the all Buddhas, you need to go in Gasho, which if you hold your book, you can do like this.
Yeah. Now you're going to have to learn this part. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, Mahaprajna Paramita.
Right.
They're actually in the book in the back. I don't know where.
Probably
Try
the
to
last page.
find it in the back. And
So that's where the plays a big part though, in leading all that. So
Right.
everyone is able to pick up by ear.
yeah. So if you're the chanter, you're supposed to bellow it out and lead the chant.
No, actually,
My
this is not-
confusion, I'm not certain about when you face the altar and when you face across.
At what point
Yeah, for what parts of the service.
for the service? So for the dedication, as he mentioned, when there's on the small bell that hit, that's when the officiant is on the sabuton and the rest of us are facing this way. And then there's a second hit when we come back up.
So usually, if you can either hold your book, or if you're not holding your book while you're chanting, you're in shashu. Except when during the dedication does this. Then when the dedication is over, you come back. And then for the all Buddhas, you go into Gasho.
So from then on, you're facing the cross and not the altar.
Yes, you only face the altar between those two bells.
I didn't know that. All these years.
Yeah, because we're
And it's only for that dedication, I believe.
I think in this
Yeah,
particular
because
case,
this
other-
dedication is only to the Buddha.
Mhm.
The second dedication is to all Buddha and all ancestors, and the third is to our current.
and the way that there will be bells during the dedication where I believe this
Okay.
also happens.
Okay.
Okay,
The way we do it, it's only with the heart sutra.
Right, we do it differently.
okay. So now we've done I don't know what you call that. All Buddhists throughout space and time. That's the dedicate. Okay. So
And that's when there's a cups.
I don't have that. So it could be.
Okay.
I have a guts coming up. Nothing, it's just dampened bells. So,
I guess, yeah, the damping bells is.
well, that's one way to dampen a
Okay.
bell.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the guts, and then that signals to Mukugyo to puck.
Again?
And then, you know, oh yeah, for the start of each
Oh,
chant.
this is good. This is really good because
Okay.
we only
Okay.
did what we were given from.
Do you actually do a mokugyo during the identity?
No.
Okay.
Then,
So in that case,
Okay.
no.
okay.
So there's no puck before the announcement. of
Because
the-
there's no POC before the announcement if the mokugyo is not. The POC is just I'm ready to
Okay.
lead the chant.
Oh,
If there's no
okay.
mokugyo, then there's no POC.
So we do three different service ones. Always number one is the Heart Sutra. If the Heart Sutra is in Japanese, the second one is always the identity of relative and absolute.
Okay.
And then the third one is always Enmeijuku Kanon Gyo, the
Okay.
prolonged life Kanon Sutra. If we do it in English, the Heart Sutra as the first one, then the second service is the Song of the Jewel Mirror Awareness, followed by Shosai Miyo Kichijo Garani. So I'm going to whip
Beautiful.
through those real quick. So the second one, I say page 6, identity of relative and absolute. And then I just hit that to say, let's go.
Can I make one? So I think the way that you do the identity of relative and absolute also has the sing song, which means
Right.
that you change the pitch.
Right.
I have been trained to, in the title, there's also a change of pitch to signal that that is coming. The identity of relative and absolute.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And
And then we say the mind of the great sage
of
of
India.
So look at page 6 so we can understand this together. When the word is bold, you go up. When the word is italics, you go down. So instead of the mind of the great sage of India is intimately conveyed west and east, you go, the mind of the great sage of India is intimately conveyed west and east. Among the humans are wise ones and fools. In the way there is no teacher of north and south. Now, hopefully, if I don't get into a deep tenor, I try to keep it in the middle so that the women and the men can be in some comfortable range. Sometimes I start too low and then it's all over.
And you know, I mean, this is what he's pointing out is sort of for the servant position of the chant leader, that's like the big thing that you need to work with. I think Maizumi said you chant with your ears. So it's like, oh, I noticed that I'm not hearing the women. Maybe next time I need to adjust my pitch for that. Or oh, I'm really low. It's way too low for my voice. I need to find it.
For me, this is a great chance for checking where your mind is too, because invariably you're going to miss the high, you're going to miss the low. And say, oh, I fucked up.
And sometimes there are two bold words.
Yeah.
So it's like,
And sometimes what happens when Riley was doing the fish drum last week, and he was here, I had my book way out here, and I cannot see the words that far. So I'm guessing in a lot of them. So you have to, it's a 3-ring circus. You have to be all over the place and make sure. So I find if you're the chant leader to memorize, you don't have to memorize the whole thing, but at least the first few lines, because you're grabbing for your tools and you're looking at, does everybody have their book? Does this go? If you don't know, if you have to concentrate on the words, it's over. You lost it. So always just a little hint there. So then we go through that one. And at the end, always ends with the dots. Listen to those who would pierce this subtle matter. Do not waste your time by night or day. Now, the second dedication is to all of our teachers in our lineage. Now, we used to do all 85, and this took forever. So we have identified it down to a few. You could even just do Bodhidharma, Eihei Dogen, and Avalokiteshvara. So I will say, in reciting the identity of relative and absolute, we dedicate its merits to our great teacher and founder Shakyamuni Buddha, the first woman ancestor, Mahapajapati, the first ancestor in China, Bodhidharma, and so on, until I get to, and all women lineage holders whose names have been lost or forgotten.
Question, only the leader does the full bow.
The full bow. All you have to do is bend over. Bow toward the altar, standing bow.
Towards the altar.
Toward the altar.
And what I'm picking up too is that bell, when it's rung, the sequence is this, the first one is bow and the second one is get up from the bow. Whereas the Incan is each bell is a bow. And you do it at your own.
Yeah, after a roll down, yes.
That you do it at your pace. Okay.
Now, every dedication is always ended by, may we accomplish our Buddha way together. All Buddhas throughout space and time. All Bodhisattvas. Maha Prajna Paramita. That gets, now I have a question here. What I've heard online, like at Jikoji and other places, they'll do the first, they'll do the Heart Sutra, and then they'll do the second dedication, or only one dedication. And it's not necessarily paired together. I don't know.
I can't speak to that.
I mean,
I'm familiar with we do one. So underlying the whole liturgy is the practice is here to generate merit, and then we give it away. Right? So the chanting is we generate the merit, and then during the dedication we give it away. We don't keep it for ourselves.
right. And I've also seen places where they just do like the Loving Kindness Sutra or something, and they don't do a dedication. And then I'm going, what have you done? What do we do with this merit? How much merit have we generated? And of course, the answer is no merit whatsoever. that's the advanced class. Okay, then we go to the third one, which is the Enmei Juko Kanon. Now, this is chanted 3 times, once in Japanese and twice in English. And this has the Makugyo going pretty fast. Kanjei zai go, kanzei yon namu butsu yo butsu yu, and then goes to English. And then there's a third dedication, and that's the one we dedicate to not just the Buddhists, all the Dharma body, and to the teacher or of the officiant. So I have to look up and see who's the officiant and ask who their teacher is, so I know who to dedicate. And it better be somebody who's still living, because we're asking that they have maintained body and strength and years of life be lengthened. I made a mistake once, and it just went to whatever was written here, and it turned out to be somebody who had passed away. So you have to be knowing what the situation is.
What do you do when you have an online speaker? Do you tailor your dedication to them, or do you just use a standard one?
I just use a standard one, unless I know who it is. And I made a mistake. I did it to Alan Sanuki Roshi and found out he passed away the month before. So
Could I just point out something before we move on, and this is only for informational. When we're doing the old Buddhas and the efficient is going up and the Jisha is also going up, the Jisha is always like a half step behind the efficient when we're going up to the altar.
And you notice that the Jisha just sort of turns. It's a little bit like, sometimes there's sort of a second person over here. You know, if we had 12 or 20 people, then another one over here. So they're like the bookends on the side. They're like the officiant's hands, right? So the Jisha would bring the incense so that the officiant doesn't have to carry the incense in. This person would usually have like a lit charcoal in a container and sort of slide this in. We're using the water here so that we don't need this position over here. So in a way, those are the hands of the officiant. So whenever the officiant needs anything, they just open their hands and whatever they need should show up. That's just sort of
Like a surgeon.
like a surgeon, exactly. And then step back.
okay, so again,
I think we're doing the all Buddhas right now.
well, almost
Okay.
at the end of the third dedication, I always say, we pray for the health and well-being. Please add your personal names to the prayer list now. Now, this is your opportunity for somebody who's alive and suffering. So I always mention my friends who are having some kind of problem, and everybody gets a chance. You can do it silently or aloud. Getting back to the chanting, to me, it's very important that people chant out loud. Read the chant out loud. I see some people are just reading along. By chanting aloud, you are activating 108 acupuncture points within your mouth and giving them power. So what we're doing by chanting is we're creating this merit, but by verbalizing is really important. Now,
I think
after we say the names,
that can be, you know, new people coming in sort of feel it's like, this is strange. What's going on over here? So I can see that people are a little bit shy. I think this is sort of for the senior practitioners a way to, you know, if you chant wholeheartedly, people will just join in.
so after that, then I wait to make sure everybody's had a chance, because some people are shy and hold back. But when everything gets quiet, then I go, may they be serene through all their ills, and may we realize the Buddha way together. All Buddhas throughout space and time. All Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, Mahaprajna Paramita. Then the roll down says, get ready to bow 3 times.
So in that case, when you hear that, like before, you can bring your hands in Gasho and turn in the direction of the altar.
First bow. And then you wait to see that everybody gets up. Some are slower than others. Second bow. And third bow. And you hear it twice. That tells you everything you need to know. Now here's where we really mess up. So
Great.
this needs a little help here.
Great. Let's get the book and take a look at that together.
So once the officiant stands up, then the officiant bows to the Buddha, but the assembly does not respond. So the first bell after the 3 bows is the officiant only. The Jisha turns and leaves the Zendo.
Everybody else just
Okay,
stays like this.
so you're in, according to what I,
That's okay, go ahead.
you turn and leave the room. Then,
Yep.
then the officiant bows with a sweeping motion. And the assembly, standing in Sashu, bows.
You return the
Bow with-
bow like this.
But without the gasho.
Without the dasha.
Not gosh. This is
So
called
this is-
Shashu,
Sashu,
shashu.
So the first one is the officiant only.
right?
The second one is the sweeping. That tells you bow within Sashu. But now I wait to hear this bell.
Okay,
Then the assembly turns to the altar and bows, standing in gasho, and
With your bell or with that bell?
with my bell.
Okay.
And the Jisha then strikes the Incan one more time out there. Then the assembly comes back to face each other in gasho and bows to each other. And then the Jisha hits it twice.
And that's the end.
And that's the end.
That's all,
I
folks.
screwed that one up.
That's all, folks. It's
like I said, opening and closing.
Yeah, we did it one time where I wasn't sure if you were like, I belled, then you belled, and I think we both belled almost at the same time.
Yeah,
About
yeah.
One of them, they were super close together.
Without the line of sight and
Yeah.
sometimes the sound being muffled a little bit,
Yeah.
it's difficult. but-
So let's try that whole thing.
Bill, you had a question.
Yeah, at that point where where the two bells sound, usually the abba is Bob, and he says, we'll be sitting for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So you announce it.
I
Why don't we
said,
stop that,
I don't have to say prepare for Zazen
because these people will sit down at that point.
Okay, good. I like it.
I like the no speak. I think we try that. Like just you don't tell people to stand. We don't talk. Like that would be cool. That would be really cool. And then people figure it out. You know, because that was my experience. You guys, you would say things and okay, it helped because now I know what to do. I'm being told what to do. But it's pretty obvious when when everybody sits, you don't just keep standing. You'll feel really weird. You know? You do feel really weird.
Oh, and then your mind.
And then you're going like,
oh.
So there's enough cues. I think it'd be cool to try it.
Okay. Well, let's do after the third bow. We've all done 3 bows now. This is the exit. So we're all up.
Okay, do we bow? Oh, that's it. Gotcha.
Facing the altar, facing each other. Woohoo! That's correct. We did it.
All right. Then you sit for Zazen.
And then, so now we're going to sit for Zazen. Then we're going to talk about Kinhin. One thing I want to say is when we meditated in Japan, there's 2 ways. At the temple, it was at 6 o'clock. When we were at home with my teacher, it was 4 o'clock, the ambrosia hour. You're on the mat at 4 o'clock. But in the temple at 6, we would do a service. Then we would meditate for 30 minutes. But we didn't do a kinhin. You stayed on your mat. You were allowed to move around, shift around, and then they served tea. The tea was so boiling hot that it was hard to get down. The head priest is served first. When he's done with his tea, he turns his cup upside down. You have to turn your cup upside down, but your cup is still either filled with boiling hot water, or you gulped it down and scalded your mouth. So you have a choice. You're not going to empty onto your futon, onto your zabuton, the water. So you're going to drink it. So best to get it down. And this is what helped. My teacher said, blow the tea as hot and sip it as fast as you can. Because once the signal comes down, you're done.
Mm.
Luckily, we do kinhin. So we're done. We've done it. Right now, we do 30-minute sit. Many places do 20. Sometimes Suzuki Roshi was doing 30, and then people said, it's too long. Can we do 20? And he said, that's funny. I was just thinking of extending it to 40. Why don't we just compromise and do 30?
Berkeley still does 40.
Koji does for you.
Okay. And sometimes 2 sets in between with kinhin. So when we're done, then the timekeeper hits the bell, what, 1 time?
3 times at the end of the first.
3 times, and that signals stand up and get ready for kinhin.
Can we just go? So it looks like I noticed we're still standing.
Yeah.
So we have the 2 bells from out there, which we can take as our signal to sit down. So we're sitting. I'm noticing I have a question. It's like where do I put this? Right. So I usually put it on the side with the black facing up so that it's not visible. I notice some people put it underneath the cushion, which I would be reluctant to do because my teacher told me you never put this on the floor.
Ooh,
So you know, like all instructions, it's like this is just what somebody told somebody at some point.
yeah, see, we were told put it under the cushion at the left-hand side. And so that's where the people would normally put it back to.
Then this is where you put it back.
But I like putting it to the side, and then that signals to them, don't hit the floor. This is
So it's so traditionally these things are on a tan, so they're on a raised platform. So in a way you could do this and it's not on the floor, right? So and this is nice because in a way it's like, well, if I was looking for a book, I would look here or there, right? So in a way there is something natural about it. It's just the voice of my teacher in the back of my head is what says, "Oh, evil, evil, evil."
Can't let it touch the floor.
So
That's like
it's something for you guys to think about. It's I mean if this is the practice, then this is the practice. It's just I sort of noticed that it's in my hands, and if I knew where to put it, that would be helpful.
Yeah, good point.
This reminds me of what I asked you earlier about stepping. I stepped over the bells one time. It's maybe not wrong, it might be, but it might be considered rude or inappropriate or disrespectful or something.
and in Japan, they will never, ever, ever tell you how crass and rude you are.
They'll just let you be.
It's
They'll
just,
let you be that way, and then you'll be known as
It
that.
gives them a sense of superiority.
I know.
And he's a no officiate. He's a foreigner. He really doesn't understand.
and we get away with it
Yeah.
because you're a gaijin.
So then the feet are very important in a lot of things we do and are not aware of even here. Is the direction of the feet and where the feet are going vis-a-vis various objects and directions and so on. This is the dualism of something that would. So if you'll see people in monasteries when they go by somebody's feet, if they're out, they'll pull the feet in to let the person go. And that person will bow as he goes in front of them.
Yes.
So there's this mutual awareness constantly within the Sangha and between individuals within the Sangha.
There's something we haven't even mentioned, though, that precedes all of this, is you should come wearing darker clothing. The priests are going to be always in their black robes, but all black is preferred, dark or gray, but never white. We're not Indian. So hopefully, that's just something, and we usually don't say it to people when they come all in white. You're not going to send them home, but how do we do that? How do you say to the newcomer, don't ever wear white again, because we want them to come back.
Jikoji had a nice, polite message of how to, of basically saying, they didn't say what not to wear, they just said what is recommended to wear.
Okay.
In turn, and it was faded, muted colors is how they put it. Which I guess would exclude bright white.
Okay, so
we're
we're,
a village Sangha. What did you call us? We're not a monastery.
yeah. But shorts are not appropriate and bright colors are not appropriate. So instead of saying what not to wear, just say, I like that.
I think we had the guy with cargo shorts come in, and that was an interesting choice. But he was new. How are you?
It's interesting to me that Bali is finally starting no bikinis in the temples. Finally. Anyhow, let's get the kinhin. Now we're done with the service. I'm not gonna say prepare for Zazen. Zazen is over. Then what happens, Bill?
Two bells, not three. Two bells at the end.
We stand.
When we started, we didn't do that, did we? Starting, I do 3 bells.
Yeah.
To start Zazen, you do
Yeah.
3 bells.
Yeah.
To end Zazen, you do 2.
2.
Okay.
So there's 2. Then everybody has time to stretch it.
And you have to get up.
And just real quick, the hand form, this is called
The
Mudra.
cosmic mudra.
mudra, that's the, yeah. Okay.
And I think it's
Right.
usually the dominant
Dominant
hand
on the
goes underneath.
Oh, and just as it's been explained to me, the dominant hand and the thumbs together, but not pressing. It should be able to take a piece of paper and pull the paper out, not that tight and not so loose that the paper would fall through. It's just barely touching.
And notice when you're getting up, I'm noticing, so I would put my cushion back into the center, and then I'm ready. So in a way, it's leaving no trace. I don't know if this is really possible with the way that the middle cushions are arranged. But... And then it looks like I'm ready to go to Kinhin.
So we've got to show before King. Of course, and I won't say anything anymore. So, but we'll do 10 minutes.
Can I make one? So,
Yeah.
Don't say anything right away. It doesn't mean that you can't say anything, right? If you have the sense like they're all new people and nobody's,
Right,
you know,
right.
no, and they're facing in all kinds of directions, please.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, you know, you can experiment with saying less and saying it later, depending on if there's a need.
So there's one class. Now, there was some debate about this, and Cohen used to do it, another beat, we'd get cases and then another one. But then after a while, he said, no, not the second one, just go outside.
Okay.
What, how do you do it?
I would be used to doing the second class, but that also means I actually start doing the kinhin right now.
And we don't,
You actually don't.
No, because we're putting shoes on
That's right.
and all that, and we're not going outside today because it was raining and it's wet.
So it is, oh, sorry.
But Bill likes to get us onto the grass, to feel the grass on our feet. So in the summertime, that's fun.
So it is first clack bow, second clack is starting your walk.
Then you're already in the kinhin
Yeah.
at that point.
Okay,
So the first clap is just, okay, now go out and line up.
right. Bow and then go out and line
And
up.
then we're all lined up, or we're still, people are still putting on their shoes and coming out, because it's something. So this king actually usually, I think, starts earlier. I never see what's going on.
When you get critical mass, yeah.
So then I do one more clap outside for king, and then we bow and start walking.
Now, hand positions.
Yes. So while you're doing kinhin, it's like this. It's like the shashu again. And it was really interesting being at UCLA because because they say swing your arms.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, oh.
Swing your
So
arms.
I mean, what I have found interesting sitting with different kind of traditions is to experiment with it by yourself, right? So, I mean, it sort of gathers the energy and so supports an inward focus. For me, this one doesn't. So, and you know, to just like usual, you know, to look at what other seniors doing in this particular place and just do what they're doing here.
But see, when you're lined up, you can't see the person's hands in front of you, and you're not looking behind you. And I see 12 people in line, and I see 6 different positions of hands.
So this is sort of maybe there is someone who notices who can say something about that. So in our, there's usually somebody called the monitor, who's sort of the person which is a little bit like the temple manager, who sort of makes sure that, you know, it's not too bright, it's not too cold, it's not too warm, it's not too cold, it's not drafty. You know, somebody just keeled over, you know, to sort of has part of their attention actually not inward, but actually outward on the space to take care of what needs to be taken care of. So if one of the senior people sort of sees that is the case, you would just sort of, so if they're facing you, you just step out of line and you just say, for Kinhin, you can hold your hands like this.
I like that.
Yeah.
Show them, don't say what's wrong, say what's correct. Just like you said for the dressing.
Right.
That's a
And
very polite.
doing both modeling and sort of saying it. It means, you know, it doesn't matter if they hold it like this or like that, but the arms are going to get tired for them.
The other thing too is that, and Dave and I have talked about this as the temple managers, that it would be our responsibility when we do see a new person that we haven't seen before, like today, even if you have done it, sat before with another temple, we'll ask you, would you like an introduction? And you could say yes or no. If somebody with new that says yes, we would take them aside before anything starts and teach them what to expect today. And we would go over something like that. When we do Kinhin, you'll walk like this. It goes with your breath, kind of just basic instruction, and then let them figure it out. So I think that helps too. And we don't have to talk in the middle.
So 2 other things that happen when we're doing this. Once we've started, and the pace is different, depends on where you go. Jikoji is painfully slow.
Oh yeah, they only take little, tiny half steps each breath. It's so small. Where I've noticed here, we take more of us, like there's an actual step.
We follow the leader.
Yeah, we really
Yes,
follow the lead.
exactly.
I don't know if I was taught this or I just sort of told myself, but for me, it's more about just keeping an appropriate distance from somebody, not letting them feel like I'm on their 6. You know?
What I'm doing is what I learned the first time I did Zazen, which was Enkyo Roshi 7. That's the pace. It's a slow pace. I thought it was slow then. I hadn't been and so then we do the walk. We're about halfway through that or a little more. Then we go into a fast walk. What should be the balance? Do you have any sense of that? So,
Your call.
well, yeah, that's
It's not so much the pace for me, but I've always, when I had to do it one time, I wondered how many times am I going in a circle? Is it 3? Is it 2? Does it symbolize something?
No, it depends on where we are. When we were at McVeigh House, we could wander through the woods.
So there's no rhyme, reason, symbology, practice to it. It's just
If you're
up to you.
If you do the walking in the Zendo, there is, because you're walking in front of the Buddha there as well. Right?
Yes. Right. So in a way, you make adaptations for whatever your circumstances are. So for instance, at the Village Zendo, these cushions are a little bit back, and the Kinhin line actually goes like this. Where this is too tight.
I like it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So at least it means that
Yeah, you're still respecting the altar.
But at Zen on Main, where we used to sit, that was just, it was like here, like that would be too tight, right? Because if I have people behind me, there is not enough space for these people to come and for these people to go. Right? So then you make whatever adaptations you need to.
Yeah.
The whole idea of kinhin is to get the blood flowing again. So you
Get your legs back.
get your legs back under you and to be able to sit down again. Now, we used to start at 9 o'clock and now we went on Zoom for COVID. Now we got to 10 o'clock and we want to be done by 12. So kinhin is 10 minutes so that the Zoom speaker is written. And people on Zoom know that we're getting ready at 11 and we're trying to be out of here by 12. So that's kinhin could be other length if needed. Now there's other hand positions. So you start with sashu, going slow, and then say 2/3 of the way through you speed up, start moving full speed, regular walk. Then
When I clap, do I bring my feet together or do I just keep moving?
I think keep moving feels fine.
Okay, that's what I've been doing.
Then we go around rapidly and or somewhat rapidly.
And when it's over, when I'm gonna head right in. I just do one more.
Right.
And that's when you,
that's when the
and
hand.
it's we've always done a walking bow, kind of like we keep moving inside.
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we all come in, stand in front of it.
And you're back
Come in, you bow to your
Same thing,
cushion,
yeah, the
you
cushion.
face the center. You don't bow here yet, you wait for the bell.
Oh, that's right. You wait for
Oh, you
everybody.
wait
That's
for
right.
the bell, that's
We do that.
And again, at the Village Zendo, when you have 60 people and you've just done outside kinhin, and some people are blowing their nose and some people are going to the bathroom, you do the bell before everybody is in. So you don't have people hang out like for it's like my arm. So when it feels like an appropriate time, you just do the bell, which releases us, which means that we can balance it.
Got it.
So Bob does the bell, then I'm out of the picture once we're back in the house.
Yeah, it's an Incan bell. Yeah.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
have a bell.
That's a good question.
Actually, the way that we do it, once the Jikigo comes back in, then they're holding their striker, and they're waiting for everybody.
Oh,
And then they'll just,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So would be the GPU bell.
Oh,
See,
Okay.
my
Yeah,
take
you've
is
done
once I finish before Zazen, this is done.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Can
gotcha.
all go away.
So then you would ring that bell, would be our signal to sit down, to bow
and
sit down.
just once.
so
Just
I can
once.
pick it up, right? I'm already sitting. when I do it.
That's a good
I
point.
think you can do whatever you need to do to make that. Because in a way, if you sit and you ring, so if you sit down, people will be tempted to also sit down.
Yeah.
But you can sit down and other people can hold the space and wait for the bell.
Okay, I'll do it when it comes naturally.
You can experiment with that. Or I mean, another option would be, when you get ready for that, to put it somewhere on a side table.
Russell, when you come back next week, you're gonna have a full quiz. And be expected to remember all. the
There
stuff.
will be a quiz.
I hope you're taking notes. Yeah.
So then you ring the bell, we bow, we sit down, another round of sasa.
Got it. In our case, we go to our
So the service is over
Service.
essentially until we get to the end of the talk.
There is something. So in a real monastery, the services would happen in a different location than the zazen, right? So that's why on some level it's like, well, it has to be whatever bell is here because that bell is actually
over in a different area.
Over in a different room. Then again, that too is flexible. It's like, well, if we only have one bell, then the person is close.
Or Bill spaces out and is just sitting there or standing there and there's no bell coming. Well, just get a bell and
I've always noticed there's some hesitancy when we get in and we're all standing facing each other. is he gonna do something or
Yeah,
not?
or we all look at each other like, what's next?
Sometimes I do something, do another clock.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just sit down.
And you can, I mean, you can experiment with that. It's like if the bell is like makes it like totally cumbersome and confusing, do another clap.
Okay,
Right? So it's just we want another signal
Yeah.
here. And the traditional signal is a bell.
okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
So then it's just a few wrap ups. After that, it's a Dharma talk. And so if it's a Dharma talk, if it's a priest, then we go to page 40. And at the bottom is the Gatha on opening the sutra. There is no bell for that. I would just say Gatha on opening the sutra, and then we do the Dharma, incredibly profound, and that lets the speaker know that it's opening the sutra. You come through the gate.
How we see it, hear it and we see it.
Then, after the talk, we go to the page 41, the four bodhisattva vows.
Do we have a version of this where the bells?
Yeah,
It is in here.
in
Okay.
R3, it should be in there.
It's in the back, I think.
Do we use that?
Yeah, I've been thrown off because I had to do it one time and I didn't know the bells. I didn't know where to find it. I just belled whenever I thought it made sense.
Here,
Which is the Zen way.
I think there's a bell here. Bing. Yeah. That's it. Okay, so we do have it. Perfect.
it's written in by hand.
Nice. Yeah.
So we do it 3 times. Everybody does it 3 times, but we do it English, then Japanese, then English. And I hope that every small book has the,
The big book only has the English.
wow, I
Some
thought I
books
did.
don't, some don't.
I thought I did it to all of the books.
Okay.
You have it, the
Yeah.
Japanese
So
version?
I picked the,
So I got both.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's,
The
I thought I
Japanese
was-
is
Yeah.
under the
Yeah.
English.
to find the ones that
yeah,
need a
you got
reprint.
both.
I'll put this one over here. So give this one to me.
The Japanese is under the English.
We
Not in that
we
one.
give those
Yeah.
we give those to the brand new people just to
Exactly.
really like
Exactly.
throw them off the spin.
So the bells for that would be bong, clack, bong, right?
Yep, bong clap bong after you announce it. Or,
Anything being
Right. And then when it's over, what do you do
You mean all 3 of them, or
after you do all 3?
2 bells?
that sounds like a good?
I think that's what I
I think it's nothing.
think nothing. I thought you told me
Just let it go.
I thought you told me to end with 2 bells. Always end with 2 bells.
Otherwise, we can't get up.
Yeah.
In with 2 bells.
End with
That's
2
not
bells.
bad. I mean, the 3rd time through, I start every phrase except the second one.
Right.
And then, the last one is, the Buddha way is unsurpassable, to attain it. And yeah,
Oh,
it
and
sounds nice to, that just puts a bookend to it. We start with 2, we end with 2.
Yeah.
and for chanting the 4 vows, it's usually in Gasho. Or when you're holding the book, you hold it.
That is something that always gets me, and will probably still get me next week and the weeks to follow, is when I'm doing Zanshu, when I'm doing Gasho, when I'm bowing in either one. But I think this today helped to kind of by watching and seeing.
But we covered so much.
Yeah,
I mean, it was just like,
it's a good refresher. For
Yeah,
sure.
it's the good news is that, you'll be held, right? So I think if you sort of have a crucial number, like 2 or 3 people who can sort of set the stage for that, I think that helps a lot.
Right.
And I think knowing in general, what kind of things happen, it's not that now everybody will be looking to you to determine.
Right.
Even though they know, right?
They
I mean,
may.
if you can help with that, then
Which is fine as long as I'm looking at, you know, like you said, the seniors, whoever's been doing it.
You know,
knows what to
this
do.
hierarchy thing of seating is helpful in this respect,
Yeah,
because you know where to look.
Yep.
I used to think, oh, this person is always taking that, it's possessive. He wants to sit on that seat always when he comes here. No, he's in the right place. My first experience with people sitting close to the altar. Why does he always take that seat? I came first. Why not take that seat? We're equal, right? No, but we don't do that here. But maybe, well, Dave always sits there, and the Doan team always here.
do they get like that in Japan, where there is a hierarchy where when so and so passes away, it's not you, it's this person that's next to them gets that seat, or kind of thing, and or are they like that, or is it just kind of organic?
it's not organic.
It's not
So,
organic.
or it is organic. It's like if you arrive the day after me, I go before you.
Okay,
One day
Gotcha,
or
gotcha.
or
it's
one
true
day,
seniority.
one day
or
or
if
one
I
day.
got ordained the day before you.
Yeah,
or
so it's true time seniority. There's no meritocracy.
Of course, there is merit.
But you just gotta give it away.
Yes, exactly. So I mean,
Gotcha.
for instance, it's we've been watching Korean shows, and it's very interesting how you address each other. Also differs whether you're senior or I'm junior. So this kind of seniority is built into the culture in a way that is much broader. Again, to us it feels like we're all equal, and which reminds me of the life of Brian. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
you're all individuals. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Life of Brian.
The life of Brian.
That's
Thank
okay.
you.
There was
Yes, this
something-
was very helpful. Thanks for taking the time to do this. You had something else on there? On your mind?
There's so much more. I'm gonna just leave it at that. I mean, we could go on all day, but it's trial by fire. There's only one way to learn it, is to do
Let's
it,
do it.
make your mistakes and learn from them.
And I think, that is the, I don't know if did I tell you guys about my going to UCLA, to ZCLA?
No, just the arms thing.
The arms thing. So I had asked to be part of the liturgy team because I love liturgy, and I wanted to have an opportunity to sort of experience this kind of thing that we just had. It's like, here we do this, and then we do that, and this is the pace for that, and then we chant, and here we bow, and here we do that. Because at the Village Zendo, at the retreats, there is usually a container where during work practice, the liturgy team gets together to sort of practice and rehearse those kinds of things. Right? They can say, okay, oh, today I did this, now I know I need to do that. So that was what I was looking for. This is not what I got. Right? What I got was, the good news was they assigned me to a liturgy position, namely to the mukukyo, to the front, or the fish. And I asked the first person who was the guest master. He said, "Oh, it looks like you also have a thing over here." And I said, can you show me? And he said, "Oh yeah, come down." And we went to the Buddha Hall, different location than the Zendo. And he unlocks this, and then it's covered by a cloth. So he shows, you hold it up like this, and you fold it like that, and then you put it down, and then you take the striker out, because the striker is sort of moved inside. And then they had two pieces of wood that were squeezed in to keep the mouth of the fish open, but when it's not used. And he's like, well, they can fall in. If they fall in, it doesn't matter. You can sort of shake it afterwards. And I sort of found a way of sitting down and putting the cloth down here, and I take the striker out and I hold the striker. And I said, so what are the chants that you do? And he said, oh, I don't know. So I said, oh, so I figured, I asked the wrong person. I asked the guest master. Of course, the guest master doesn't know about liturgy. So I thought, okay, I can play it by ear. I'm also comfortable, jumping in with both feet, and I trust somebody will tell me that if I'm too slow or too fast, or somebody will realize that if I need something more, and I sort of feel comfortable in that place, but not too comfortable. So later on, I met the registrar for the retreat, who had assigned the service position, who had been in contact with, and she said, "Oh, you're the Mukuki." I said, "Yeah, that's great." And I said, "Yeah, I said, Yudo showed me, where it is, but he didn't know more of the details. Can you show me?" So she said, "Oh yeah, that's great. Let's go downstairs." She unlocked the thing. She showed me how to take the cloth off, how to fold the cloth, how to take the things out. Had me sit down, and when I picked up the striker, she said, "Oh, you'll be fine." So from the way that I picked up and held the striker, she felt that the thing that she was concerned about, she was no longer concerned about. And then I said, "So what exactly are the chants and how fast do they go?" So I know. And she said, she was sort of very evasive, and it was sort of clear that I was not going to get more information about it. So I thought, she's the registrar. She doesn't know. She's not the liturgy person. Right? Yeah. So I figured, okay. And then the following day we go into it, and it works fine, except that all of a sudden they go into this recital of a piece of the Lotus Sutra, which is like this, right? And I of course have no idea, but the officiant, Sensei, immediately, like after the first box, she immediately realizes that I don't know how fast it is, and she immediately does this. Yeah. Right? It's like, okay, so I know I can see that, I can follow that, this is fine. And then she stopped doing it. So apparently I was doing it at the right pace. So I felt a little bit, in the koans, there's often the student who goes to the teacher and has the deepest heart question and asks the teacher, and the teacher gives a response that is like the perfect response, except the student doesn't get it. Right? It's like, this is not the answer I was looking for. I was looking for something different, and you go and ask a different teacher. Right? That's what I felt like. Like, oh, I was expecting this, I didn't get it. Let me ask someone else. Oh, they have exactly the same response. Maybe it's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
there's nothing like the real thing. You just get into it.
So that reminds me,
and in a way that the container is also strong enough to hold it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The service went exactly as it needed to. It didn't go off the rails.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's fine.
So what that reminds me, the third chant can be on different days, Shosai Myo Kichido Dharani, the marvelously beneficial disaster-preventing Dharani, which we really need these days. But here it is, chant one time slowly when the officiant has had Denkai.
Oh, yeah.
So this, because if you have to know the efficiency, and I've got to ask them. I mean, they don't, their robes don't say I've had Kensho or Denkai. No, san, man. Now, if they didn't have it, then it's no mo san man. So you have, it's night or day.
Yes.
And the bells are different.
Yes, and the bells are slightly different.
I was actually hoping that we could address that today too.
Okay, we got time. But this is interesting that this one actually has different speeds for the same chant.
Depending on the road.
Yeah.
Empowerment.
Whether they have Denkai or not. So Denkai is the empowerment to give the precepts.
Right. So there's different levels of the priesthood. It's not just you're a priest or you're not a priest. It's like what you can do. And I have no idea that.
But the beautiful thing is you have a method, right? You just ask them.
Unless the time, like when Doug was here, and we get to the third one, and I had forgot to ask him earlier in the day, and it's like, well,
Well, and what do you do then?
I just pick one or the other,
Yeah,
and somebody will look at me,
Exactly. Somebody will go.
and if no daggers thrown my way, I keep going.
Beautiful.
What one thing that came to my mind is this is all forms and practices. And when the Japanese teachers came over first, they were renegades. They were the ones that were supposed to stay in their temples and follow their lineage. And they came over to America. Oh my gosh, Suzuki and Koben. I mean, so who were the ones who started this? Whoever knew the forms and practices. Suzuki sends Koben over to go start Tassajara. Why? Because he was the right person to do it, or he knew the forms and practices. And any Americans that came there, Westerners, were like, wow, this guy must know what he's doing because he knows the prayers. He knows, and this is how you hold your hands. And these guys were looked up to. And in a case like me, I'm just one step up on the one rung up on the ladder that you are. You know, I don't know anything, but it's like, and we learn like that, one step at a time.
Yeah, I think Bernie once said, tradition is what your teacher did.
Yeah.
It's like I sort of have this vision that it's like 2,000 years.
years worth of stuff. So it's really just whatever.
Maybe yes, maybe no.
And like you said, maybe you came in one day ahead of him. He comes in, he doesn't know if you've been there a decade ahead of him or one day ahead. So he's looking at you like, well, this guy knows what he's doing. Maybe he does, and maybe he doesn't.
Yeah.
So we're all in this together.
Yeah.
What fun.
Beautiful.
You
Thank
wanted
you.
something else?
Pardon?
You said there was something you wanted to get into?
The Shosai Mio.
Okay.
So, you know, what we had seen on a couple of occasions,
Yeah.
I think was
the honor.
when Michael was at Doan, he would be hitting the bells for the slow version of the Shosai Mio.
Okay.
Okay, but doing it 3 times. When the Shosai Mio is done slow, it's only done once.
Right.
Versus when it's done fast, done 3 times.
You want to take a look what it's like in the
Yeah. So here's what it says. And when we get to this, and you were supposed to look and say chant one time slowly.
I would know what
Krishna
that
says,
is.
but then down here it says chant 3 times
The first
fast.
circle,
Krishna is
not.
not.
For
So
me,
so what to do and what not to,
Or
in
maybe
different locations.
So
See,
for a little while, I
so
said,
this is
one's
the
19.
problem.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty
This
militant.
bell
But also,
shouldn't be here.
I think I've been chasing that dragon first. Because it just,
So it
there I just
basically,
have, we
you
just
know,
have
there's
monks.
the,
and
bong, bong, bong,
And,
clack, then puck,
then I was,
and then
before that was a
Shosai
good
Mio,
help, and then after that, I was
Pikado,
take that on.
bong, and
10
then
years.
you go through the whole thing.
And
once,
so
and
it's
there's
like,
a bong at the
it's
end.
like
You
opposite
go
singer,
through
a
the
solo
second
You say the
bong,
whole thing, you mean all the way
and
down? Or is this
so
one whole?
looking for
Oh,
something to
okay,
film
so
on.
this is, all right,
Form.
I'm sorry, I didn't
So
see
it
this
seems like
over
a
here.
Good,
good measure,
good,
yeah.
good. And it sounds like
Yeah,
this
so you
is the whole
basically
experience to just
have it on
go
both.
along with what's
Ah,
happening.
yours is.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
you know
I
what
just,
would have been helpful.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
this is
just-
the way we received it. What would have
just
been
think about
helpful
this.
is have them both separate,
Honestly,
one this
I
way
don't
and
like
one
where-
this way,
Right.
because
Yeah,
Because
otherwise
otherwise
it
it's
gets
jumbled them
like, I
all
don't know.
together.
from
Yeah,
the
the
character
second
committee and all of that.
What
And,
tries to explain it is the red.
you know, it's good to do
So
it because
here
somebody
it
has to
says-
do it.
That's right.
But on the other hand, it's like,
It's also fine to hand it off to someone else. at
Yeah.
some point.
Here is the
Yeah,
second
here
and
it
third
is.
rounds, but then all of them on
yeah,
the third,
so,
I guess.
So
my name is Russell.
My name is Kenkō.
Kenkō.
has not, so basically we
Nice to meet you.
no san man.
Oh, this is
Yeah.
a separate
Let me
one.
just check
See,
it.
okay, so this
Pardon?
is,
Let me just check it.
this
Oh,
is
yeah,
when
yeah,
they've
thank you
added,
for talking to me.
this
Okay.
is when they've not. and then it's three, it's
Yeah,
one
but
time
that-
here. It's
That
three
bell
times.
is still
Any questions?
here.
It's still-
I didn't hear, where was
So
your
you were doing
experience
it according to this.
practice meditation?
But I was, you
Very
know, what I was
close to
doing is I was
put it
going
up on
through the whole
the
thing. That's why.
And then
I
Rosa-
get
You
it.
did a mix. You're doing it according to this. We don't have
Yeah.
the here.
Yeah,
Just
the
do
Adams sister.
the whole
Yeah,
thing
they have a
through. And
monastery
then on
with
the
a-
third round,
with a
there's
hall.
these two little ones.
Yeah,
that-
it's
Yeah.
usually
Okay.
a person here who's a member. of the
Here's my.
Oh, really?
Adios.
They're, like when you were talking about the walking meditation,
My
there's this
question
double
is,
time.
I'm glad
You got